All right. So I am here with one of my first clients who I don't know if I ever told her I stalked her until she would say yes. But Shannon, how are you today?
I'm good, thanks.
Good. Can you give just a little brief history in terms of your business, what you do, family, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, so I've been in business for 15 years, last month actually, and I work with businesses and money every day, but not personal necessarily. And so that's my business. And then family, I'm married, and we have two late teenager kids, children, youth, people living in our house.
Sometimes demons, sometimes not. But
Right? Sometimes adult, sometimes not.
I think you're talking about me personally. But so where we kind of, I mean, in a weird way, we cross paths is because I read a book called Profit First, and I started to implement it for my partner, Nicole, in her Pilates studio. Yet I didn't know that there were all of these trained Profit First practitioners. And that's how I found you. And the
Yeah.
funny part is, you would not let me into your Facebook group because it's
Yeah.
like, sorry, this is only for, people who are in the health industry. And I was like, but I think I've got something good here. And I just, and so I badgered you basically until like we would sit down and chat. But once we did, tell me in terms of what was going through your mind in terms of what I could have potentially helped you with. If you can
Yeah,
remember that
so
far back, because it's been a while now.
it has been a while, and I don't know that I can remember because I think the first thing you brought to me was not cash flow coaching, but on our first call, you mentioned cash flow coaching, and I was like, I'm actually really curious about that. You can keep telling me about this other thing, but I want to know about this other thing. And I don't even remember what the first thing was. But here's what I know. I just am always really curious about cash flow. And that you mentioned Profit First. That's the system that we use to help business owners. And yes, we're really specific to health and wellness business owners. But I do try to carry on any conversation around money because there's a lot of different ways to look at it. That's one of the things I've learned as far as Profit First goes. I've been doing it for 9 years, but for 6 years before that in business, I didn't have it, and it's been a game changer. So what else is there out there, right? I know there are other things out there. So yeah, I was just really curious, like what if there's a different way to look at cash flow besides what I'm already doing? What is it? Tell me, let me know. And you were more than happy to do that. So
So, in terms of the way that I kind of explain profit first to people is that like you're bucketing the money, and every dollar has a job. But more importantly, you're not looking at the gross number that comes in. You're looking specifically, let's just talk in terms of running a business. A certain percentage of this has to go to run the business because you have taxes and you've got profit and you've got your own salary. And I come in and say, Shannon, that's great for a business, but I don't think that's the optimal way to do it for at least your personal life to start. And once I kind of revealed the curtain, I'm not going to share your specific numbers or anything like that. What was when I said you could be debt free in X years, your immediate reaction and Jeremy's was what?
mine was how. Tell me how. I would like really like show me. Because I mean again, like I'm always looking for what's new and different. I'm always looking to learn and grow. And so I'm open to any conversation, right? So that was definitely where I came at it from. And we had a considerable amount of money sitting in savings accounts because we had implemented Profit First in our personal lives. So we had, I think back to when I was growing up, my parents had Christmas clubs and vacation club savings accounts, right? And they were depositing money into it. We were doing the same thing in our personal bank accounts. So we had like I said, proportionally considerable amount of money for us sitting in a bank account. And when you were like, you could be using that to pay off your debt and still have access to it when you need it, I was like, excuse me, I'm okay. You've got my attention. You've got my attention. And so I think for us, I mean, I definitely jumped in first and learned about it. I knew I was going to have to at least semi understand it to explain it to Jeremy. He's let's just face it, I deal with money all day long, every day, and he hasn't had to. Because I do. And so it's not that he can't. In fact, now he really does that for us. But he just didn't have the background that I did. So I feel like I picked it up pretty easily. And then it was like, I just had to explain it to him. And yeah, I mean, he sees the same thing. It's definitely given us a lot of freedom in choices that we would not have been able to make in the last, I don't know, 2 or 3 years because of it. And so he definitely sees the benefit now. And it wasn't that he wasn't on board, he just didn't really understand it at the very beginning. So he kind of just trusted me, and I trusted you that this was going to work. And so far it has.
Can you, I'm curious, can you expand? Because you said the last couple of years that we would not have been able to do some of the things that we did. Can you expand on what are some of those things? Because I always try and tell my clients and my prospective clients, I'm not here to hinder you. I want you guys work hard. I want you to live, because really, what's the purpose of working? It's for us to enjoy the life that we have today, because we don't know how long we've got on this world. So what were some of those things that you were allowed to do because now you felt like you had this flexibility without the constraint?
Yeah, I mean, we've taken a couple of vacations. One of them was saved for before. That was part of the cash that we, used in the line of credit to pay off some other stuff. But one of them wasn't necessarily in the plan. But my parents' 70th birthday and 50th or wedding anniversary was all in the same year, and they wanted to go somewhere, so we were able to do that. We were able to buy a car for my son, a nicer car than we probably would have bought. We would have bought one anyways. But the biggest thing is my husband quit his job this last January, which is kind of a normal thing. He was in construction. He got laid off. He would get laid off from time to time. So I think that was part of our fear coming in. Like, what happens if he gets laid off? What we didn't realize is that when he gets laid off, like, we had access to the cash in the line of credit. And just having that as a safety net, like a bigger buffer than we could have ever had before that, is definitely what has allowed us to just say he's not going back to that W-2 income crazy roller coaster that can be construction.
I mean, look, I'm not glad that he got laid off, but I'm glad that you saw the power. All right, you could be glad, but it's one of those that, I mean, but what I really want to kind of stress is that this gave you the freedom to know that whether he was working in construction or whether he wasn't, the safety net, the buffer, the flexibility was there, that now you have options.
Yeah.
And just the way that the financial system is set up for essentially everyone else is, what would we have done?
Yeah.
So are you surprised that there have been less profit first practitioners that have said, I really need to understand more of what Howard does? Because I just haven't had many of you guys reach out, and I've done your mastermind not once but twice in terms of what I do. What is it that your peers should be seeing? I hate to say it that way, but what is it that you think that they might be missing?
That's a good question. I haven't really had conversations with too many of them. I do wonder if some of them have tried to do it on their own, because I think it's a group of people who, like, profit first. I did it on my own. I didn't have anybody teach me how to do it because I joined really early and they didn't teach anybody how to do it at that point. So I wonder if there's some of that going on. I also just think that There is some unknown about like the banking industry, how the banks look at this. What's going to happen if my line of credit gets called, that kind of scarcity or fear, I think, around just a new kind of new devil, right? Like, and now I have to think about one more thing, and they just aren't there yet.
Would you ever go back to how you were doing things?
No. I mean, for me, it's just been so easy. It has not like, and it's a lot like Profit First. People come to us and they're like, oh my God, I'm going to have so many more transactions to record in my bookkeeping. It's like 10 transactions more. And the way our bank has worked, and even like now I've implemented in my business, right? Even the way the business bank is a little bit different, but it's just my checking account. The line of credit is just my checking account. I'm not doing anything differently as far as um, recording, bookkeeping, transactions, reconciling. It's just, no, why would you go back?
I don't know. I just wanted to ask the question.
People that do. There are people that stop using Profit First after a while too, don't get the benefit of it, and so they do stop using it. So I'm sure it happens, but no, I won't go back.
Okay. Final question for you. For those that are on the fence, what advice would you give them in terms of saying, just what would you tell them? Just good, bad, or otherwise, what would you tell them in terms of this?
Um, like I said, I think my biggest thing was I looked at the tens of thousands of dollars we had sitting in bank accounts, and what was it doing for us? It was doing absolutely nothing for us. And now I can just see the interest that is saving me, because I don't have such a big mortgage anymore, and I still have access to it. So it's just, um, yeah, I'm not sure exactly how you baby step it, because we didn't baby step it, but I'm sure there's a way to start small. Like, you don't have to go all in on it, just like we don't go all in on Profit First. So start it off, get your line of credit, and see what paying off one of those car payments can do for you. And then I just think you won't go back after you start it.
Well, Shannon, I really, really appreciate this. Please send Jeremy my regards, and thank you again.
Yeah, for sure. You're welcome. Thank you for showing us the light.